Hello there, Lieutenant Jones from Utah County Sheriff's Office here. I'm here again today with, guess who? Sergeant Spencer Cannon, also the Utah County Sheriff's Office. Say hello, Spencer, again.
Hello, Spencer, again. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So, Spencer, got a question for you today. You have grandkids?
I do. I have 6.5.
How do you feel about that?
Love them to death.
Yeah. So, when they come in the room, what do you do?
No matter what's going through my mind, I almost always lighten up.
Okay.
My mood lightens. I feel better about things in general, things that have been bothering me, kind of fade to the back of my mind if I even think of them at all.
Okay.
And I focus on them.
So you're practicing mindfulness. Did you know that?
I didn't ever make that connection, but that makes sense, yeah.
So that is actually a form of mindfulness. And here at the Utah County Sheriff's Office, mindfulness is a big thing for us. We taught a class last month, and we do have another class coming up for mindfulness for law enforcement, from law enforcement, which is pretty unique, I'd like to say. It makes me feel better to say it.
It's a good approach.
So what is mindfulness? Do you know what mindfulness really is?
You know, from my uneducated standpoint and my really rudimentary understanding of it, it's basically being aware of what's going on around you and being able to focus on certain things without being distracted by things outside of you.
I like that. That's a good approach. My idea, I'm going to give you the boxed, it's being fully present without judgment. And so often we have that judgment. And one of the terms that's being thrown around right now is implicit bias. And so what I want you to do, Spencer, is I want you to think a thought for me. You got it?
Okay.
Who said that thought?
My wife.
Well, inside of your head? Inside of your head.
Oh, inside my head, I created the thought.
So who heard it?
I heard it.
So you're telling me there's two entities in there. Is that what you're saying? Because that's kind of weird.
If you look at it one way, yeah.
So there's a sender and a receiver.
Yes.
And that's always there. And sometimes the sender is silent and you don't really catch that thought. And you don't know that that thought is provoking you to react with somebody or interact with somebody in a certain way. That's implicit bias. And it comes from years of being taught, the way you're raised, so many variables. But when you start to practice mindfulness, you actually start to understand that a thought is a thing. And a thought isn't something that's necessarily you. How you respond to that thought is what's important. You have your conscious and your subconscious. And your subconscious gives you information all the time, and your conscious has to decide. I consider it my soul. And if I identify as a soul, then I look at everybody else like that and I treat them like that. It's more complex, but that's in a nutshell how it works.
I like that.
Okay. So with that said, it's kind of like this. You would assume, well, most people that know where this cup comes from knows what's in it, but what would you assume is in this? Because here I am, I'm a cop, and I'm drinking something out of a hot beverage container. What would you think it is?
The assumption would most generally be coffee.
Would you be surprised to know that it's oolong tea and lemongrass?
Coming from you, that wouldn't surprise me at all, no.
So those assumptions that we make, that's what we do in mindfulness. We push and we say, okay, what can we do differently? How can we react to this thought that I'm having? And that's important in law enforcement. It's important for everybody. What has it done for me? It's calmed my mind. The mind-body-spirit connection has changed. What has it done for me? Well, I was 280 pounds on the 18th of June of last year. And I've been practicing mindfulness for probably 10 years, but I really applied it to my eating. And today I weigh 209. So it is what it is. We want society to know that we're working on this. We're doing everything we can. We're doing the best we can, and we're going to continue to do that. And I have to tell you, again, we're doing it out of love. We offer this class. We have another one coming up on the 14th of August at the Sierra Theater. They have been so gracious with their facility. And if you want to sign up, we'll put a link. Any law enforcement, actually any first responders and their spouses are invited.
First responders meaning EMS, firefighters, law enforcement officers, and their family members. We obviously can't have a unlimited size to the crowd, but we want it to be a good response, because these are the kinds of things, hearing him talk, you get an idea what it's like to have him as my supervisor. I get this kind of philosophical discussion almost every day with Jeff.
I'm sad for you a
And
little bit.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it because it kind of opens my mind to realize that there are things that I could do to make me a better person, but maybe even more importantly, make it so that I can have a more positive impact and influence on people around me. And in law enforcement, our job really is influencing people around us, and if we learn skills to help us do that, then we can do that a whole lot better.
By the way, today I want to point out, sometimes nothing is good. Sometimes the best response you have is not a response.
Yeah, when you have something up there, our idea is to give you an impression of something, to send some kind of message. Whatever we have up here, it might be silly, it might be serious, it might tell you something about us individually, it might tell you something about law enforcement generally. But like he says, having nothing up there also sends a message, and maybe that's that we want you to focus on the message of mindfulness.
And with that, I would say be still. That's my phrase. That's the phrase of the day. Be still. Don't
I
do
like
bad
it.
things. Always do good things.